Welcome to Integrative Life Coach Training for Health and Wellness Practitioners, the only podcast that can help you help more people, create a greater impact, and make more money in the health and wellness industry. Join Clarity and Confidence Coach Kim Guillory as she teaches you how to integrate your passion to serve with your skills and experience to create a business you love. Let's get started.
Hey guys, how's it going? So today we're going to continue on the create the new path. So last week we talked about like you deciding what you wanted, what you needed, what you desired, and having a list of that. If you didn't do it, you can pause this right now and go ahead and make that list if you didn't listen to last week. But let me share a little bit with how my morning started off. So today was the day that I was following through with this, adding a little bit of running intervals into my fitness routine. So for those who don't know, I had a pretty intense bout of chronic pain last year. I had sciatica that was pretty intense. I had 16 weeks down on my belly, on my elbows, and couldn't sit, couldn't do anything physical actually, and which has kind of held me up pretty much most of the year because it took an entire 6 months to get over that. I've currently been back on the yoga mat and on my bicycle and walking, but I have not been back to any sort of running. And it's not that I do a lot of it, but I do like to bring in a little bit of interval for cardio. So I've been debating on this for months and I've been procrastinating about it. And since we're on this topic, and I'm going to share with you how I do the next new thing, the next level, the things that come up and what you can do to continue moving forward. So I figured this is pretty much helpful for you if it's helpful for me. So what I want to talk about today is the labor of new life. So this came to me at the walking track as, I'm doing my stretches after my run and just realized like, this is like freaking labor. And I looked it up and it's like the physical or mental effort, especially when difficult, the physical activity involved in giving birth. And it's just like birth to a new era, a new part in our life, bringing in something different. To exert one's power of body or mind, especially with painful, strenuous effort. I was like, that is it. Let's talk about the labor of new life when you are creating something new. This could be in relationships, in health, in finances, in business. Like it does not matter. There's still going to be this layer of doubts, these objections, these obstacles that you're going to have to break through in order to get to the next level. And, one of the things that you have to be willing to do is feel or dance with the shadow, that tapping into the emotions that really want to shut you down. Instead, you want to turn them on. And you kind of want to go and investigate and figure out why they've turned on this defense, basically against what it is that you want to acquire or what goal you want to achieve. And I find that most of us just really, it's this dare to feel. We just don't want to do it. It's hard. It's hot. I don't want to wash my hair. I don't want to have to change my clothes. Oh, my bed's so comfortable. I don't want to get up. I don't want to go. It's hot. It's raining. It's wet. Today it was foggy. There's always going to be an objection. As long as you have a brain, you're going to have an objection. And this is the same for you guys who I know I have a lot of followers who are dealing with chronic pain, and we have this conversation even in the TMS world, and that's something I'll talk more about, but it's just the mind-body syndrome, the disconnect between body and mind, and how that affects our bodies and how it affects disease and illness and pain and struggling and suffering and even poverty. Everything in our life that is not working for us is like a result of something that we are not in alignment with. It's our job to be in alignment with our life, with our desires, with our wants, and taking care of our personal responsibility for our needs being met. So here's what happens after you decide. So I decided, I like the energy. I like how I feel when I'm mixing yoga with bike riding, with running and walking. It's my thing. It's what my body likes and craves. And I have a lot of creativity and high energy, and it just works for me. keeps me, it's almost like a meditation because I kind of just count my steps and then I stop and count my steps and then I stop. So it's like my mind is like super zoned into my body and there's this amazing connection. And in order to get back to that, I have to trust my body. I have to trust life itself because my body and my mind have a memory of that intense pain. You know, this was like a really big deal, probably the worst physical thing I've ever experienced in my life, very much more than labor pains. Speaking of laboring the new life. So when the body has this etched memory and you go to do the thing, then there's this like sensation, kind of like this anxiety, this doubt that comes up. And when you feel that, then this old story gets reactivated. So once I decided, I started like kind of feeling some things were out of whack. And then I kind of tried one day and it was like, just there's a little pull here and there's a little sensation here. And then my foot hurt here and all of that stuff. And I'm like, okay. I had this conversation with myself. It's just an objection. It's not feeling safe yet. How can I bring even that part in? Like even the fearful part, even the doubtful part, even the part that just doesn't feel like doing it. I want what it feels like after, but I don't want what it feels like to get started, right? Can you all relate to that? So here's what happens. After you decide, after you set an intention, the objections appear. And I want to tell you what to do about those objections. First of all, your job, your responsibility is not to buy the objections, not to buy the excuses, and not to buy the objections, but even more than that, to plan for them. Like, what if you knew they were going to happen, so you planned ahead? Like, I know that my brain is going to not get up and go, not wash my hair, not dirty more clothes. These are the crazy excuses I come up with. I'm going to tell myself that I can go later during the day. Oh, I can go at 1 or I can go at 7 or I don't have anything this evening. I'll be able to do it then. I know for a fact, because it's done it so many times, that is what my brain is going to tell me. That's what my mind thinks. Like, we'll just do it later. It's too foggy. It's really hot. There's probably going to be people there. I don't want to go at this time. All of that silly stuff. It's like blah, blah, blah. You're kind of boring, right? So if my job is not to buy that, but to plan for that, then I've already prepared myself for success, right? So if I know that I'm going to have an objection, and I know my job is to overcome the objection, and I already know exactly what I'm going to say, what I'm going to think, and what I'm going to do. So what I did is I had my clothes ready, and I just said, oh, aren't you interesting? That didn't take you long to show up, and I'm going anyway. So I got dressed, I went out the door, and it was super foggy. I couldn't see in front of me. I went to the walking park that I used to go to. I haven't been in a while. And I get started. It's hot. It's muggy. I had all of these reasons not to. And then I start like getting a blister on my foot. And then it's like got kind of boring. And, all of this stuff started coming up. And as I'm going and I'm like kind of like realizing what's happening to my body, I look down and there's this little toy, and it's this little girl toy, and she has like a Superman Power Woman cape on. And I was like, "Aw." And so I pick her up and I take her with me and I start running again, and I take her back on my journey. And then Michael Jackson's comes back on, The Man in the Mirror. And so like that got me excited, and I got back into the momentum, and it's like, it's basically because I chose not to buy into what the mind or the brain was telling me, which was, that's enough. It's just for today. You've done enough. Come back tomorrow. We can do it later this afternoon. And I'm like, no, I think I got this. Like, I'm going to do 30 minutes. I'm going to get in what I can. I'm going to listen to my body. I'm going to listen to the blister on my foot. But that's kind of the labor, right? Like when you go on a really long hike, or when you start running, or when you start biking, like, yeah, you're going to get blisters. It's going to be kind of hard to breathe. Like, you're out of practice. And it's our job to manage our mind. So what is the story that you want to tell yourself? What is the story that you want to live? What's the results that you want? And what's a plan that you can put in effect ahead of time? Like, go ahead and plan for it. Write down. So you already wrote down all of your wants, all of your needs, all of your desires. So right next to your wants and desires, I want you to write down all of the things that are going to stop that from happening. So if it's for more money, if it's like a change in career or relationships, like write down all of the things, the reasons why you haven't done it yet, right? It doesn't matter if it's true or not. What matters is what your brain is thinking. And so you want to see it on paper. You want to reveal it so that you can overcome it. So write down all of those reasons, just like I told you all the silly reasons why I didn't want to go run or didn't want to finish it, like even not washing my hair. It's so crazy. I tried really hard for me, like not to have enough time, but I had already carved out the time because I knew I was going to have the objection. So I planned for it. So write all that down. And then I want to take you into another little concept. So when we're talking about the labor of new life, that's like the labor of the new creation, the new thing. What are the labor pains that you're going to have to suffer in order to get to the next part, to the next point, to the next level, to that thing? And you can even think about it like this is the part where like you've basically, once you make the decision, you've just planted the seed. Like the baby hasn't even formed yet, right? You've just planted the seed for the opportunity and all of those objections are already coming. So it's like, you got a long way to go. You haven't even like entered the labor phase because you're barely in even the 8-month phase or the 9-month phase. So if you knew that was going to happen and you planned for it and you did it anyway, then what would be the results? Like you would feel amazing. You would be so glad you did it. You would feel empowered. And, that's what I had to keep in mind. I felt into what it used to feel like when I would finish, how I felt when I was sitting on the dock, when I was doing my stretches, when the cool breeze was coming to cool down the sweat, like the creativity that was flowing through me in the moment of completion. I brought that memory, that imprint, that feeling into my body. And I felt it. And then I reminded myself that was mine if I wanted it. And all I had to do was stay in my lane and keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep taking one breath after the other. And it could be slow and it could be steady. And it could be like I did not have to beat the clock. It didn't have to look any particular way. I just needed to keep moving. And for me personally, if there's any of you who are doing some sort of beginning running or interval training, I count. Like this is my meditation. I count to 25 and then I stop for 25. I count for 25. So it looks like run, walk, run, walk. And then when that starts feeling good, I will do 50. Then I'll do 100. And before I know it, like I'm finished with 2 miles and I've basically just been in a counting meditation, just putting one foot in front of the other and just counting to the next number. It's made it super easy for me. My goal is to always be able to run a 5K. I don't need to do big marathons or anything like that. I just want to be super balanced with a little bit of bike riding because I love biking. It's got the most amazing, liberating feeling to bike riding, as well as some walking so that I can hike and not ever be limited to wherever I travel and whatever I want to see. A little bit of running. So if we have any kind of fundraisers or 5Ks, I want to be a part of it. I always want to be able to run that, even though it's a run walk. I want to know I can do it. And yoga is just my lifeline. I think yoga is the absolute best for mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, all of that, like best thing out there. So let's talk a little bit about deconditioning and de-icing, because this is basically what you are planning and preparing for. The thoughts, the excuses, the reasons why you can't do it, the procrastination, the self-sabotage is the conditioning. It is the old story, the habits, the behavior, all of that stuff that's running. Even like, I'm thinking in this particular incident, like when anyone goes to the doctor and you have something going on, they almost always tell you to stop doing what you're doing. That was the biggest frustration in the fitness business is clients would come in, something like, oh, my knee's bothering me. I have to wait till I see what the doctor says. And it's all about protecting the body as if it's going to break, and if this is where the mind-body syndrome is, this TMS thing, this is what we're talking about. It's like if you have an old injury, like it's not acute, it's chronic. It's just something that returns later and you feel every once in a while and that kind of stuff. that is not something that you're going to break or ruin. Like, our bodies are super resilient. They know how to heal. They basically heal themselves in 6 weeks. And then like something comes up and it's, oh, I broke my ankle when I was 8 and it still bothers me. No, that is the mind-body syndrome. That is what we're talking about. So the deconditioning is getting rid of the suggestibility that this has to be a lifelong injury. That is not true. I hear this all the time. Someone gets in a car accident. I had this happen this week with my massage therapist, and someone suggests, well, you can just get over, like, you're just going to have, it's just always going to be there. You're going to feel this for the rest of your life. And I'm like, that is not true. Don't listen. Don't listen. No. That's conditioning. Someone telling you that is conditioning and suggestible, and our minds like pick that up and draw it in, and then we believe it, and it's not true. That's actually what we're working away from. Like, we need to decondition our minds. We need to change those stories, these old habits and behaviors, this conditioning that these patterns, like, this is what's holding us back from what we want. Like, really think about what you want, need, desire. It is available for you. I promise you, it is available for you. It's available for me. It's available for all of us. So think of deconditioning the way you think of like de-icing an airplane. So you think about this, like, I remember sitting and we had ice on the wing, and we were in a local area. So down here, we don't have much ice and snow, but it was like a big deal. And it took like 2 hours for someone to come out to get a little 2-inch piece of ice off. And I remember like, why is this such a big deal? And so then I'm looking it up, like, what's the problem with having a little bit of ice? But it's like, it's all about soaring and flying, like being free of contaminants, like in order to take off safely. Like, and then it adds extra weight and it disrupts the flow of air and the movement of the wings. So think about the conditioning and the de-icing being kind of the same thing, but the conditioning is of the mind. And so you could be free of this contamination in order for you to take off. So as you're creating this new vision, this new life, and if you bring the conditioning with you, it's kind of like having that ice on the plane, right? It's the ice on the wings. It's just extra contamination and extra weight, and it disrupts the flow from being really easy. So if you plan for it, you do the work ahead of time, and then you prepared for the objections, and then you continue, then you're eventually going to reach your results in a way that's more efficient, more effective, more probable, more likely, and possible. The smoother the takeoff, right? Then that transition into the new life is like, you can do that with ease. You can do that with ease and flow and maybe more freedom. The deconditioning, the de-icing, the pruning, clearing, that's the labor. That's the actual labor, the contractions, the emotional pain body, the awareness, like the things that come up. If you can consciously choose to watch, it's really an interesting story. It makes it crazy and it makes it fun. But I was watching myself watch myself as I'm doing this run walk this morning. And I was watching all of the stories. I watched like the part of me that got super excited because it was almost like grace, like a gift from heaven, that this little toy was on the side, like with the Superman cape on it, like power girl. And I was like, yes, and then I get to the little dock and I'm doing my stretches and the sun's coming up and it's gorgeous. It's foggy with the sun rising behind it. And I put the little girl up on the ledge so I can take a picture of her, on top of the water in the sun. And she falls in the water. She's face down floating in the water. I was like, no, my cheerleader just fell. And, even that, learning even from that little disappointing experience is that, hey guys, the cheerleader is us. Our responsibility. This is our job. This is our creation. This is our labor. We do not need an outside source to cheer us on because we have ourself to cheer us on. You're doing this for yourself. It's your responsibility to evolve and to grow and to make the plan. Make the plan. You make the plan. And you set yourself up to overcome the obstacles for the thing that you want to create. So if you want to have a satisfied, fulfilled life where you feel energized and joyful and successful in the way of fulfillment, it's going to come from doing these things that are going to have a few rough edges that need to be ironed out, right? So that way, whatever you want is more accessible, more attainable. Just smooth out the edges, make the plan, de-ice, decondition, get rid of the things ahead of time, recognize that they're going to come back. They're going to sneak back in. They're going to say, hey, don't you remember? Like, hey, here's a little reminder. But it's your job to not buy it. Like, no, thank you. I realize you're there. You can come along with me. I'll put you in my back pocket. I'll put you in my backpack, or you can run alongside me. But I am doing this thing because I've made the decision and I'm committed to myself. So once you decide that you want more, you make a mental note, recognize the objections that are going to happen ahead of time, and you make a plan for overcoming them. So you know exactly what to do. You're prepared. Commit 100% to yourself, to the thing, completely all in, no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's foggy or if it's hot or if your hair is clean or dirty. Doesn't matter. None of that matters. You just go with the commitment and then you cultivate. And the cultivating is actually the key to creating it, because when you're cultivating, you are doing it as if it were already so. In other words, when I'm doing the walk run, when I'm in action, I am already the person because I already feel what it's going to feel like when I'm done. Like I set that in ahead of time. And so I make sure that that is set in my intention. And then as I'm cultivating, as I'm in the actual action of it, I am feeling what it's like to be the person who already did it. We're going to talk more on that next week, but a person that already did it, that, in my opinion, is the key to creating it. Because if I'm already her, I'm already motivated, I'm already feeling good, I'm already in high energy, right? I've already achieved. All I'm doing is taking the steps into the creating and the becoming. Because in my mind, I've already achieved it. In my body, I've already achieved it. I already have gratitude for achieving it. And so the only thing left is counting 1, 2, 3. Each step, I just count and move, and keep going forward. Stop, take a few breaths, move some more. Stop, take a few breaths, move some more. Like it's just this continual walk, run. And then the 2 miles are done. The time is up. And then I get the sensations and feelings that I want, which is the motivation. I feel inspired even by myself. I feel inspired by my actions, by my results, that I actually pulled it off and did it. And I let myself off of the hook for having done it a certain way. So there is no agenda of what it's supposed to look like and how long is it supposed to take and how hard should I push. And so it's got that self-acceptance, self-love, compassion, empathy, understanding, as well as a little badassery, I'll call it. So there's a little bit of pushing the edge. Like when I know I'm at the end, I'll just, in my mind, count for 25 more steps and then 25 more steps. And that's pushing the edge until I know. Like when I felt the blister coming out of my foot, which is just part of the labor, right? It's just one of the contractions. You're possibly going to get the blisters. There was spider webs, there was blisters, there was like sweat in my eyes, there was all sorts of things. Those are just the labor, like the contractions, you can say, in the labor. All right. So let me know. Feel free to come into the Integrative Life group if you want like practical guidance and support as you are doing the thing, whether it's health or wealth or relationships, whatever it is that you are creating. You are welcome to join along in the new membership site. It's called Integration Live. And this is where we have a belief boot camp, which is the very first class in the membership. You can join anytime. They're all recorded. They're in the library. You can go back, but we would love to have you doing it along with us. Like, this is not about just listening. This is about implementing it. It's how you can take the practical steps get the support, get the feedback, have the accountability, have the group to the community that's actually celebrating with you as we're all doing it together. It's only $39 a month. It's super power packed. We have master classes. We have myself and we have other mentors. It's going to be super fun. I just want to show up and grow with you all, and let's just celebrate together. So I'll let you know next week how the run is going. I'm committed. So like you hear me here, this is me saying I'm in, I'm doing it. There's no turning around. Absolutely, without a shadow of doubt, will have myself back in 5K positioning. Alrighty, have a great week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Integrative Life Coach Training for Health and Wellness Practitioners. If you're feeling stuck on your journey to mind-body integration, head over to kimguillory.com to download your Stability First meditation today.